On the 24th of July, we will hold a global disability conference here in London, organised by the UK government, by the Kenya government, and by the International Disability Alliance. For too long, in the world's poorest countries, disabled people have not been able to reach their full potential because of stigma or not enough practical support. I am proud to be focused on this area, which has been neglected for too long. The conference will support the global effort to advance disability inclusion for some countries' most vulnerable people.
All right.
Let me just say by way of reply, that is good.
The UK's commitment to spend 7 pence out of every £10 of income on the world's poorest is absolutely in line with our national values and our national interest. But we need to ensure that how we are meeting the 0.7 is sensible and works for the British public in the long term. So, we are focused on ensuring that there is nothing that hinders the most effective use of those funds.
Conservative Penny Mordaunt. When she replied to the Queen's speech in 2014, she reminded MPs the last time a woman had made the reply was back in 1957, when Lady Tweedsmuir spoke, and the opposition leader had had to reply to her.
Mr Gateskill, with gallant intent I am sure, replied to a nod in Commons that Lady Tweedsmuir had probably made some good points, but that he, alas, was unable to respond to any of them. For such was the distraction of her soft, attractive voice. Wait for it. And so struck was he that despite being a grandmother, she was rather easy on the arm. He found it quite impossible to concentrate on anything she had to say. In recounting this, Mr Speaker, I realise I may have left the current Leader of the Opposition with a very modern man's dilemma, as he considers. Does he now risk insulting me if he focuses solely on the issues raised and failed to mention that I am also a softly spoken charmer? To compliment me, does he risk the wrath of the Labour Party's Women's Caucus? potentially using the newly introduced power of recall? These are perilous times for a chap. I have benefited from some excellent training by the Royal Navy, but on one occasion I felt it was not as bespoke as it might have been. Fascinating though it was, I felt that the lecture and practical demonstration on how to care for your penis and testicles in the field failed to appreciate that some of us attending had been issued with the incorrect kit.
I'd like to ask the Secretary of State that in creating the debate around the Transgender Recognition Act, which I agree has to happen, and there's a lot in the Select Committee's report which needs to be attended to, that there is also a recognition that we do not want to have a situation where there are almost competing rights between the trans community and hard-fought rights that women have fought for many years in terms of protecting services they provide. I believe there is a way through this if people on all sides of this debate can do it in a way which is informed, which is discursive and doesn't shut down.
Well, I think the Right Honourable Lady puts it very well indeed. Those questions that women's groups raise, for example, are completely legitimate questions. And I think sometimes people forget what we require of people who are changing their gender identity today. We require these people to live in their new gender for 2 years prior to changing the gender. So this is, we're not catering for something new here. This needs to be a calm, grown-up conversation for the nation. This consultation affords us the chance to do that. We want a good outcome to be a less bureaucratic and supportive process for those people changing their gender identity, and we want those other people to be reassured. Those are both legitimate desires from those two sets of people, and we need to come up with those answers so that we have clarity on this issue and people can be assured of what is expected and what is right, and how to treat people when they're trying to access services and so forth. So that is how we need to conduct this debate, and I am confident that having dispelled some of those myths that have been